Okay, so we are live. Thank you guys all for, everyone is so early. That is awesome. We're going to just take a few minutes to chat, get to know who's in the comments. But before we kind of do that, I want to let you guys know, we're going to wait a few minutes. We do have a speaker that should be showing up, so she may jump in the next few minutes or so. But why don't you guys, in the comments, we want it to be really engaging, hear where you guys are from. We definitely want to know your questions. If you guys all have kind of a similar, you're in a similar position, we want to make sure that we can tailor our content to whatever kind of position you're in. So jump in the comments, let us know where you're from, maybe what area of accounting you're doing. If you're doing maybe bookkeeping, tax, advisory services, anything like that, let us know where you're from. So yeah, we're just going to give it 1 or 2 minutes for everyone to jump on. Okay. Is everyone from the US? Maybe we can start and narrow it down. I know a lot of people are from Texas. I saw quite a few people. Oh, yeah. I know I'm currently in San Antonio, so okay. So we got April Moore. She's the owner of Moore Accounting in Indianapolis. Accounting, bookkeeping, and tax services. Nice all around. Super awesome. Yeah. I've never been to Indianapolis. I'd like to go there sometime. No? You guys?
No.
I have. I can't remember what I was there for.
Oh, yeah. I think that's considered the Midwest. I love the Midwest. Yeah. I got to get it. There, I hope I'm not messing it up with another state, but I was there recently and they had, in the general area, and they had a gooey butter cake. That was, if I can live off gooey butter cake for the rest of my life, I would have it. I mean, it has everything you need. It has sugar, butter.
It's gooey.
So Super Bowl, Indy 500. I heard San Diego and loved it. Nice. Yeah, I'm originally from kind of the San Diego area. Okay, awesome. So I think we're going to get started. So before we get too far into things, I'll just introduce myself real quick. I am Kristen Corey. I am the owner of ProAdvisor Marketing. You guys may have seen me on Facebook groups or on Instagram, but that is not really why we're here. We are here to talk about how to grow your business specifically during a pandemic. And real quick, I will give you kind of a rundown of what you can expect over the next hour. So first, we're going to go into each of our speakers. I'm going to talk to them all a little bit about, how did they specifically grow their business? The big overarching question of this. Have them tell us a little bit about their background. And then there's going to be some question and answering, asking them specific questions about how they got there. And then we're going to end with a live Q&A. So feel free to ask your questions kind of during the webinar as we're going through. But at the end, we're definitely going to address your specific questions and see kind of how we can help you guys and specifically your business and what challenges you're facing. So Jody, Ashley, why don't you guys give us a quick rundown on who you are, the name of your company, and what you guys do.
Ashley, you go first.
Cool. Thank you. I'm Ashley Wakehoff, and I own a firm called Pretty Penny Accounting. I offer bookkeeping, accounting, advisory services. And I've recently kind of really honed in on growing a social presence, and that's been a lot of fun in growing my practice.
So I'm Jody Barthold. I'm a sole proprietor, so don't really have a firm per se, but Kristen is very kindly helping me do my rebranding. So look for that soon. And I'm an outsourced controller specializing in small businesses, really I call small, under 100 employees. And I've been doing that for about 10 years.
Yeah, definitely. And I found both of these guys on social media. And so while social media is going to be a common topic throughout the webinar, the idea is that we give you some resources on different ways you can market yourself and get more clients. You don't necessarily need to be, so Ashley is very active on Instagram. You don't necessarily need to, just focus on stories. She has a lot of tools that's really going to help you grow your business. Likewise with Jody, She's very active and she has her own Facebook group. You don't need to start your own Facebook group in order to necessarily grow your business, but they're going to give you some tools that kind of every sort of business owner can use. So I figured we would just start with the overarching question and kind of build from there. But how did you grow your business since March of 2020, Ashley?
So honestly, going into whenever the pandemic first hit, I think I had an absolute freak out moment of like, what if all my clients fire me and then no one ever needs accountants anymore? You know, just like, let's get dramatic for a second. And then I let that settle for a day and I came back and I was like, this is actually the time when accountants are so important. There's so many businesses that are struggling right now and they really need accounting help. They really need help understanding how they can stay in business. And so it was really that mindset shift that helped me, and then figuring out how to get myself and what I offer in front of those people. So it was really the mindset, and then figuring out kind of where I felt like I was comfortable really showing off my services and what I offer.
So where kind of did you focus on? Because I think a lot of times when they're like, okay, open my doors, where do I be? There's so many social media platforms. You're big on Instagram. How did you know that Instagram is where you kind of want to, I think, put a lot of, at least from the outside, it looks like you put a lot of your time and effort in. How do you know that's where you wanted to focus on?
That's a great question. I kind of tried everything at first and then settled on the places that were the easiest and most comfortable for me. So I still have a small presence in a lot of other places, but I don't really focus a lot of energy there. Instagram has been, I like in my personal life, I enjoy being on Instagram. So that was kind of an easy transition for me. And then I found out that there was all these businesses on Instagram also looking for other professionals, which honestly, before this year, I didn't really realize that there were businesses looking for that type of service on Instagram. And I think what that taught me was there are business owners on every social platform looking for help and looking for a community and looking for people to guide them in the right direction.
Yeah, definitely. Jody, so same question. How did you grow your practice during this pandemic?
So I had actual drama. So
not the fake dramatics,
you know. Feel real to you, Ashley. But, so I was actually a recruiter at Robert Half. I had sort of veered from accounting to go do accounting recruiting, and I had been there a little less than a year. And they told me I was going to be kept, and 2 weeks later I was laid off. And I thought that was, you know, the last career step that I was going to make. So it was a big freak out moment. And when I had shifted to Robert Half, I had actually dropped all of my clients. So I literally had to start over from zero. I think I had one very part-time client. That's it. So I literally had to like run as fast as I could to figure it out. And I refused to get the help, the unemployment help, because I felt like, you know, that's for people that really need it. I'm educated, I have experience. Let me see how far I can go. So I ended up never needing it. So that was really good. So I did very much the same thing as Ashley, a little bit of, throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. And realized that Facebook is same exact thing. That was where a lot of my contacts were, a lot of my friends were, my family. So really just stuck with Facebook. Same thing, I have a little bit of presence other places, but Facebook is where I spend the majority of my time and effort. I also have a really big LinkedIn, like the connections on LinkedIn. I have a ton of connections on LinkedIn. But what really struck me as the opportunity during the pandemic was, in addition to the fact that businesses needed help, but also accountants needed help. And because a lot of accountants like Ashley, like me, all freaked out. And yeah, it is sort of funny, right? Like, yeah, right, businesses aren't going to need accountants anymore, but you know how small businesses are. They always think they can do it themselves. And so I decided that it would be good to start to diversify a bit. So I went the path of getting a life insurance license because life insurance license allows you to do so much more than just life insurance. I had it in the past, didn't really do anything with it. anyway, so I ended up just getting plugged back into that, and that's been great. And it allows me to be more rounded as opposed to just what I normally do, which is outsource controller. It really allows me to do individual stuff. It allows me to do some retirement planning. It's easier for me to take on and more justifiable, maybe a solopreneur who has just a little bit of bookkeeping because there's some additional revenue there that I could tap into. And then, sorry, one last thing. So I started a private Facebook group for accountants. And yep, that's the link right there. No Ordinary Accountants. And just started talking about, like, I call it NOA tip of the day. So my tip as an outsourced controller and the tips that I would give to any of the accountants that are in that group, that I, from my perspective of my 30 years of experience in the work world in the last 10 years is exclusively as an outsourced controller. So just, trying to add value and just be as helpful as possible to other accountants.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know if you noticed in the comments, April Moore, it looks like she mentioned she had a life insurance license in the past as well. So it was an interesting pivot.
I didn't see that.
Yeah. That's, I mean, you're actually the first person that I heard of that had one. And I'm like, oh, you just do life insurance. Like, how is that related to accounting? But yeah, I mean, if that's something, if that's something that you guys are interested in, trying to find a way to diversify, not just your marketing, but also your services. Jody is like a great spokesman for kind of that way, trying to find a way to diversify. Something I did want to make sure I ask both of you is, can you tell us a little bit about your, like, if you have a target audience of who you serve? Because right now, if you provide accounting for anyone in the travel or food industry, their concerns are probably going to be a lot more heavy than some of our other ones. But tell us a little bit about who you guys are targeting and see if anyone can relate to that.
Cool. So I actually this year switched to only working with people that are on QuickBooks Online. I've been a QuickBooks ProAdvisor since I started doing accounting a while ago, like 8 years or so. Mm-hmm. And so I've really enjoyed QuickBooks Online and seeing the progress that it's made. So now I only work with clients that are there. I also haven't niched into a certain industry. One of my favorite things is learning from different business owners, how they run their business, how they grow, and kind of really what brought them into the industry that they're in. So I haven't niched into an industry, but it's more a type of client. I like working with like visionary, dreamer type entrepreneurs that really want to like have these like pie in the sky, massive dreams. And that way I can help them figure out if it's attainable, hopefully it is, and then kind of how to reach those goals. So I've really taken my like ideal client away from a specific industry and more into like a description of a person, like really like the characteristics and the type of person that I like to work with. So that was kind of a different switch than what a lot of people talk about when you talk about niching down into a certain ideal customer.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's something at ProAdvisor Marketing we talk about a lot, because usually I ask, who's your target audience? And people hear niche. And I'm like, no, your target audience is different. Right. Your target audience is, I want someone that's tech savvy. I want someone that, doesn't have a crazy business idea, like selling ice to penguins or something. Like it's super, like, it's more about who the person that you're working with, they're kind, something. It doesn't need to be a specific industry. But the fact that you work with visionaries, I imagine during the pandemic, there was a wave of kind of, not negative,
a mental struggle, but no, for sure. Yeah. It was a mindset struggle because I think a lot of those people felt like their dreams potentially were crushed or stomped on. Yeah. And it was a lot of like mindset work to figure out like, okay, no, this is just a time of pivoting, which is like the word of 2020, I feel, but like a time of figuring out where to go next or what changes need to be made to still try to kind of reach those goals.
Well, that's the thing, is those also seem to be the first group of people that like we're like leading the pack of, no, we're going to be positive and we're going to find a way to overcome this. And like at my old bookkeeping firm, we had one client, and he provided snacks to like some of the biggest, like, those office snacks, like the kitchen. Yeah. He'd supply those like organic and super healthy things. And he supplied them to like Facebook and a lot of tech companies.
Big office
valley. Yeah. And so when this hit and no one was working in the office, he's like, what do I do? And he pivoted to doctors and nurses and the heroes of the pandemic.
Wow.
And it was just like, and he's such an entrepreneur and a visionary. He found a way to pivot his services. And I know, you know, the people at my old firm, they were working with him constantly saying, okay, you know, how can we still, you know, help out during the pandemic, but bring in income for you? Who needs snacks right now?
I love that.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that I notice when we help a lot of people with their websites. Consulting services is always kind of one of the things you list as a service, but people don't think they need it because everything's going well. They got their business, things are going good. But if you find a way to kind of incorporate just a consulting fee as part of your other packages, you can provide consulting services without having to like charge them another invoice, if that makes sense. But
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And no, I think that's a great question too, because I think as accountants, most of us could probably serve like an incredibly wide range of people. So narrowing that down and narrowing down your audience helps attract that audience to you because you're really speaking to that specific person.
Yeah, definitely. And Jody, same question. I know you and I have had conversations about who you like to work with. When you started, same question.
When I started, or
well, at the start of the pandemic, who were you?
Okay, start of the pandemic.
Who you like working with? How did you?
Be very specific. Yeah, so I describe myself as the person who you hire when you have a puzzle and you have that puzzle box and it falls on the floor and the puzzle pieces go all over the place and you threw away the top, but you want to put the puzzle back together. So I really am the queen of hot messes. So I love the hot mess. Like if you have a hot mess and that company is under audit and they don't have financials and their bookkeeper doesn't know what they're doing. And that's what I love the most, because I just love that process of pulling all those pieces together and getting like a really nice chart of accounts and a really good rhythm for the monthly financials. And then we were talking before we went live, and is that in what I do, I have a shelf life. So my shelf life is usually between 1 and 2 years with the client. And that's because they only need me to clean up so much. And then once it's cleaned up, then I like to hand it off. I'm not the everyday, process your AP person. That's definitely not me. So it's a little bit like Ashley, where it's not particularly industry driven, but it's also not startups for sure, because what she's describing sounds to me like startups. It's really more like an established business that they just have gotten in their groove, but things got out of control. So a lot of the people that I have had just great engagements with have been people that are successful, maybe been in business for 5+ years, have, several employees, but just really can't quite get to that point where they have financials, or like they're always struggling to do a loan package, or always struggling to get to get their taxes done on time, or that kind of thing. So really, it's really about, for me, it's about that cleanup piece. And really that vision of that puzzle on the floor and putting that puzzle back together. That's where my sweet spot is.
And I imagine right now that would probably, I think a lot of people are looking at their finances, especially, with the PPP loan, people are saying, okay, my financial statements, I thought I had till the end of the year to get everything together. Turns out I need them together now. So you both have very kind of specific target audience. Well, not super specific. You have target audiences. A lot of people right now, they're starting out from scratch. Similar situation to Jody. You had a secure job and then it didn't become secure. You know who you want to work with. Maybe how do they go about getting their first client?
So in my experience, referrals are going to be almost your best form of getting clients. And so there's kind of two different things I want to talk about here. And the first one is that when you're trying to figure out what kind of niche or like what kind of audience you want to go after, you can do something kind of like what Jody and I have done, where it's a little bit more of a general, not industry specific, but more of a type of business.
Yeah.
Or you can sit down and write down all of the experience that you have and the things that you enjoy. I'm friends with another accountant who focuses solely on the beauty industry, and she works with makeup artists and hair salons. She was a makeup artist on the side at one point, so she can understand a lot of the struggles that they've been through and how their finances work. So if you have any experience in another type of industry and you enjoyed it, or maybe you can at least understand it and relate to that business owner, then maybe start trying to network in those circles to see if anybody needs any accounting or bookkeeping help. And you can use your experience in that industry as part of your selling point. And then kind of the other piece of that is really just that for me, referrals have been the best type of source for new clients. And the referrals come in a ton of different ways. It doesn't mean that you had to have like worked with someone before it was your work ethic or whatever. Even with just growing my Instagram page, I've had people reach out to me that say that they've had like a friend of theirs that's been following me for a while, and they sent them my way. And then they're like, oh, this looks good. They schedule a call. So that's even like a very basic form of a referral where they weren't even the person who was really seeing all of my content. It was somebody else. But on that same page, I've joined a lot of Facebook groups with people that are other accountants and other bookkeepers. And a lot of times I'll reach out to them and just be like, hey, let's jump on a call. Tell me a little bit about who you serve and what you do. I'll tell you a little bit about who I serve and what I do. And I've gotten a ton of client referrals that way too. So if someone calls me and doesn't fit, like if someone came to me with an absolute hot mess, I would call Jody and be like, hey, I have the perfect business for you, because that's not what I want to do. So really networking and not feeling awkward to just reach out. We're not in competition. I think that's a really big thing. Sorry, I'm going on kind of a rant here, but like
totally agree. You rant away.
I'm of the mindset that there are so many businesses that need accounting help, like so many businesses that need our help, and not enough of us to go around. So we shouldn't go into conversations like this feeling like we're in competition with somebody else who may provide really similar services to what we provide, because we're all a little different, whether it's our personality and customer service that's different, what we offer is different, the way that we offer it is different. Everyone's a little bit unique. So it's just kind of finding what you think makes you unique, and don't stress too much about that either. Just kind of go into it, but make those connections with other bookkeepers and accountants and tax professionals, and then refer business to each other as you go.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Yes to all of that. Yes,
Right.
yes. So I have never advertised my services ever. So Kristen and I are going to put together a plan for the first time ever. I'm going to actually have like a regular presence, not just my homemade social media presence. So I think the thing, and I've had a great career, and that have been able to make a living, no problem. So on the referral thing, I think the biggest thing is if you are not putting yourself out there in any way, shape, or form, not a website, not social media, not an email list, whatever, not YouTube, whatever it is, how are people going to possibly know about you? So I love what Ashley said. It's like, don't worry too much about, being perfect about, okay, my message has to be this and it has to go to that person and whatever. If you're just starting out, just let people know what you're doing. I'll sometimes put a post on my personal Facebook page, and I'll just say, hey guys, sorry, because I have obviously a lot of friends and family there. Sorry, business post, warning. And then, I post there, and then like, oh, but if you want to get more business posts, go over there. So not even worrying about that, because if you're a silent agent, no one is going to know about you. And I agree 1,000%. We are not in competition here. There is every business in the entire world needs an accountant. So whether they need an insourced an employee bookkeeper, or an outsourced CFO, or a mix of everything in between, or they're just doing it themselves, they all have bookkeeping or accounting needs.
Yep.
So yeah, I totally agree. And there is so much out there for everybody. And if you think about the sexy, degrees right now, the sexy degrees are the computer science degrees. It's not accounting. So yeah, there are not enough of us for sure. For absolutely for sure. So just look at the number of computer science majors versus accounting majors. It's crazy numbers. So just put yourself out there. Don't stress about it. And the other thing I want to say about like when you're just starting out, don't worry too much about pricing. I know that there's lots and lots of YouTube, Facebook people, and all these gurus about pricing and all that, but what's better, something or zero?
Mm-hmm.
So something. The answer is something. So even if you mess up and the first time you take a client and you don't make any money, it doesn't matter, because just like getting a job, it's easier to get a job when you have a job. Same thing for clients. It's easier to get clients when you have clients. And like I said, I have a shelf life. I bet, Ashley, some of your clients have shelf lives too, or, you can coordinate with somebody else. Like you said, like, hey, that's not a good fit for me, but I want to pay it forward. So maybe, you work with that client, you realize that's not the right fit, you can pass them on. So if it's something or nothing, and you're going to lose money, and you're just starting out, take the something.
Yeah, I completely agree. I completely agree not to put so much thought into it that you don't make a move and just start.
Exactly.
And as far as like something really tangible to take away from this webinar, I actually have a metric. It's like written right over here on my whiteboard, but I reach out to 2 industry professionals every week and try to schedule some kind of like 20-minute call or just some kind of conversation with them, so that every week I'm reaching out to other accountants, bookkeepers, tax professionals, but also attorneys and bankers and other people that refer business in our industry, so that lead source, like that sales funnel, is always kind of moving. I'm always talking to new people.
Yeah. We did just get a question, and it's super relevant to what we're talking about right now. But let's see. Sierra asked, what Facebook groups would you recommend joining? And I'm going to put my little 2 cents in real quick, and then I want you guys to answer. So with all of our clients at ProAdvisor Marketing, we talk about your target audience. So not your niche, but who you want to work with. And then if you want a niche, we work with your niche. I have one client, her niche is knitting, creative arts, Etsy seller type people. And so I told her the same thing. You want referrals, you want to go network in those groups. And she went out and she found knitting groups. She found like a whole creative platform, not Facebook, but like a whole place where you can talk and engage with those people. And she got like 4 sales calls in a week because she was the only bookkeeper in this creative networking group. And everyone had questions. Everyone was asking, okay, how do I do this? And people were responding, well, this is how I handle it. And she came in, she's like, well, I'm a bookkeeper and this is how you handle it. And so, you don't need to have a niche. And I understand that example you think, okay, I need to have a niche. But if you can find, the type of client, a target audience, and then figure out where they hang out, that's one way to kind of search through those Facebook groups. But what do you guys think? I guess if you kind of, you have a target audience, but not a niche, how do you join those Facebook groups and network in that sort of way?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'm in a couple different like accounting, and now I really want to join Jody's. I don't know how I'm not in it yet, but I'm in a couple other just like Facebook, like QuickBooks related or different kind of groups to network with people. So that's where I'll reach out and just say, hey, like, let's jump on a call. Tell me a little about what you do. So those are more for referrals. But I've recently found that the industry of like virtual assistants and online business managers is growing like crazy. So I've joined some Facebook groups that are pretty much just a bunch of virtual assistants and online business managers hanging out. And I have some questions about the systems in my business, but they also have tons of accounting questions. So I've booked a lot of sales calls through there. So even though I'm not specific on that industry, I've gotten a couple of clients that are in that industry, so I'm familiar with it. So I went out looking for some Facebook groups that are kind of tailored around that industry. So kind of like what you said about the knitting groups. finding wherever those people are hanging out, whatever Facebook groups or social media areas that they're hanging out in, if you can find a way to also hang out in that space. And then whenever they have a question, you get to be like the knight in shining armor that gets to answer their question.
That's great. So I have a hack that probably will make Kristen cringe, but I'll tell you what I do, at least on Facebook. So, and I'll answer the question too, Sierra, about, what groups to join. But what I do is, if I know that I want to connect with accountants, this is really funny. I can't believe I'm going to tell you this say this out loud. I'm going to say it out loud. So I find other accountants that are really connected, and then I go through their connections and connect with those people.
So there you go.
Is that what you did to me? Okay.
Yeah. No, actually, for you, I loved the name of your firm. So that was like a shoe in.
Got it. Yeah.
So what I've done is the absolute opposite of what every Facebook expert will tell you. So I have like 1,000 million zillion friends. I think I'm pretty close to almost maxing out. But then what I'll do is, if they engage with me, then that's cool, and I don't mind if they stay. And if they don't engage with me, I'll just try to get them into one of my groups. So either my customer group or my accountant group, and then I might unfriend them. So not that I'm unfriendly, but I only have room for so many people. So, but I would say, so yeah, that's not the best strategy, but that has worked really well for me. And that has actually gotten me to a lot of accountants. And then to answer the question, Sierra, about, what Facebook groups should you join? So there's one coach that I just love. And she always says this. She says, you're not missing out. Just pick something, learn something, and stay with that. So what that means is, and I'm not saying it as eloquently as she does, but what it means is, if you decide, let's say the knitting thing, you decide that you're going to go with the knitting people, just stick with it. Stick with it for as long as you can and really get to know people. Because think about accounting like this. You are dealing with other people's money. What is more precious to other people than money and kids? It's like the two things that are so important to people and to business owners especially. So if you are going to go into a group and expect them to have, to hire you, and they don't have the first clue about who you are kidding yourself. You have to have a relationship with that person. You have to have trust with that person. You have to have, just some commonality with that person. So don't think that, oh, well, I posted once and, I'm good. No, you need to really go out there and really build these relationships. So just like you would if you were in person networking. So the question, I guess, I'll pose the question back to you, Sierra. Where would you go if you had to go on a live networking group? Would you go to a live networking group for accountants? Maybe every once in a while. Or would you go to a meetup for knitters? So it's the same exact sort of thing. Yep. And just know, though, that you are dealing with their money. It's a very sensitive subject. You are expected to be trusted. You are expected to be present, and you really need to bond that relationship in order to get their trust enough to hire you.
Yeah, definitely. I do want to just real quick introduce Felicia Ball. She is the owner of She's Gone CEO. We had a little bit of a tech issue, but I think we got it all worked out. Thanks so much for joining us, Felicia.
Thanks for having me. Yes, the tech gods were just trying to work against us today, but I'm here.
Having it.
Oh yeah, no, you're
everyone.
good. Yeah, awesome. So why don't you, just not to throw you on the spot, but why don't we just start off? Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do? Tell us a little bit about your company and sort of the different services you offer.
Okay, so as for myself, I actually pivoted. So I actually started my business during the 2009-2008 recession. I started off as just offering tech service, and then it was like accounting clients just fell into my lap. So I was like, oh, okay. never really considered doing the account, doing accounting, even though I had been an accountant for years. It was just like, okay, I was on a chopping block, during a recession, and it's like, okay, I'll start a tax practice. But then when the accounting clients came, it was like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'm gonna have a full-on accounting practice. So over the last 2 years, I actually kind of pivoted a little, kind of taking myself out of doing so much of the compliance work. And I saw a need that it was just lacking. I can't remember which one of you said that it's not enough accountants to go around. It's not
All of
enough
us.
accountants to go
All of us.
around.
Ashley.
A whole group.
Yes, and I actually saw a need that it was an underserved market, being those clients that maybe were new to business, or maybe they were already in business for years and they just never knew how to set things up properly. And so for me, I'm just real heavy on the education, teaching a financial understanding of business.
Yeah.
I want to, I'll set everything up for you, teach you how to maintain it. And then if you need me to review it, then that's me. I'm your person. I'm your person. If you want to know how your money should move in your business, how it should flow, and things like that. And then, of course, I still provide tax services, and I also help with solving. I have a team that helps with solving tax issues.
Okay. Okay. Nice. Yeah. And I know. So I found, or actually met Felicia on Instagram, and she's a tax strategist. And so that was a lot of your content. And I think that was kind of unique that you're highlighting that. I think some of us do like bookkeeping or accounting, but taxes are kind of something we talk about maybe 4 months, 5 months out of the year. But how did you kind of handle marketing your services during these last 6-7 months?
So for me, what ended up happening is because, oh my gosh, when they released that stack of documents, I was reading, and it kept changing and flipping. And so I started to do lives because they had questions as it related to the CARES Act, as it related to the stimulus checks, the PPP, the SBA loans, and all of that stuff. So I started doing lives about that subject matter. And it was like people started to be drawn to me, and they wanted me to come on webinars, and they wanted me to do collaborations and talk more about it to help their audiences understand, or at least get some understanding of what it was in that second, because it's still changing now. But when it first hit, it was kind of changing like every second. So that was what kind of like helped me to continue to to grow my business during a pandemic. And the funny thing is that my returning clients for tax services had actually decreased, not because just because of various reasons. Sometimes it just happens. You have that churn rate. You have the lifetime value of a client, and they just tend to churn out. But I was able to see a growth, not only in my revenue, but also in my clientele, just based off of me making myself the expert, making myself, the knowledge person when it comes to all of the CARES Act and things like that. And so what I did was I began to offer services. People didn't have their books in order. They didn't know what their numbers were. They didn't have the text. So that's what happened.
Oh yeah. And I mean, like, I definitely saw that, especially looking through your content. When we were looking for people for this webinar, making sure everyone had a strong online presence was obvious, was, a big point for us. And you guys all stood out for unique ways. But actually, how did you, because I noticed, because you have a very cohesive brand. And I know there's a lot of kind of bookkeepers on Instagram, but yours does stand out. How do you stand out amongst And maybe everyone, okay, maybe I'm the only person that follows like 150 bookkeepers. But yeah, okay,
I do.
there's other accountants that do too. But how do you stand out kind of among the bookkeepers and like when everyone's kind of maybe talking about the same thing at the same time, like the PPP loan or, the pandemic or,
I think that's a great question. So I really just tried to bring like part of my personality into it. Like, I feel like sometimes accounting is like going to the principal's office, or people like avoid having to talk about accounting or talk to their accountant. And I've always, since I started doing accounting, I've just always wanted to make it a little bit more fun, a little bit more approachable and less scary. So I really wanted my content to kind of reflect that. Like, hey, like we can have an open conversation.
You posted a photo. What was it? This is the perfect question. Reference that photo. I think you know which one I'm talking about.
I think I posted one with my dog. So my neighbor, just a small story. My neighbor did like a little pop-up Photoshop thing, and they had a dog day. She was like, bring your dog, we'll take your picture. I was like, perfect. So I went and I took these really goofy pictures with my dog, and then I posted it on my accounting page. And I was like, it doesn't have to be stuffy in here. Like, we can have fun and talk about money at the same time. So I think that was really my goal with the brand. And I mean, Felicia like hit the nail on the head when she was talking about the way that she was listening to what people were asking and then delivered that on like live videos on Instagram. That's providing that value constantly and answering the questions that people are asking you makes you the expert in your field, and they view you as an expert in your field. So then when they're ready for any help with taxes or anything that's related to what you've been talking about, you're going to be the first person they think of. Like, they're going to be like, oh, I really need some tax strategy. Felicia, I remember watching all of her stuff about the stimulus package and the PPP loans and all the tax stuff that she does. So they're going to be her first call. So it's really about listening to what people are asking for. And when you're just starting out and like no one's messaging you asking for anything, because I felt like I was there at one point, everyone's like, listen to your customers. I was like, I don't have any yet. Look at what other people are responding to. Look at what, like search into different Facebook groups, find out what people are asking maybe other people, and answer that to your own audience and answer that to them, and try to grow your presence that way. But eventually people will start asking you questions. Anytime you're on any kind of sales call or any kind of sales conversation, really listen to what that person's struggles are and then answer those struggles. Give them value, give out free value on your social, whatever social presence you decide to do, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn or Pinterest or whatever. Answer their questions through content and value that way, so that they will perceive you as an expert in your field.
Yeah.
And you can make it fun.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a big point, is that a lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to give out the free content or free, information. But the thing is, if anything, you're going to show them how difficult it is to do bookkeeping, and they're going to be like, I need a bookkeeper. So answer their question, but I mean, ultimately you're going to show how challenging this is, and they're going to realize I do need to hire someone. But Jody, did you want to add to that?
I raised my hand.
I know.
I totally agree with Ashley, and there's another way you can do it too. So once you do get a little bit of traction and people start to ask you questions, you can actually answer with a video. So sometimes people will ask me a question, and then I'll say, oh, I'll make a video for you. And then I make the video, and then I post that to the entire group. Because if that person had that question, it's likely that a lot of other people would have that same exact question. And then there was something else I was going to say, and I can't remember. That was it.
They'll come back to you.
Yeah.
So I want to add to that. Ashley is absolutely correct. You sell by listening. That is something that I learned from a marketer a while back. She always said, you sell by listening, you sell by listening, you sell by listening. And not, I mean, if you don't have clients yet, of course, maybe you don't have anyone to listen to. So go into, you can go to YouTube videos. You can go look at the comments down in YouTube videos on Reddit or on Quora. Like you can find the content, and I do like that strategy, Jody, of the video, because sometimes the other people may be afraid to answer the question for whatever reason. I don't know why, but 9 times out of 10, they probably have that same question. So I do like that video strategy.
I thought of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like the light bulb moment. Yeah.
So you know how Ashley said that she has 2 times a week she reaches out to other people that might be like referrals. So whether it's a banker or an attorney or whatever like that. So one of the things you could do if you were reaching out to people like that, and I love this question, so I'll totally take credit for it if you like it. So the question that I always ask in those kinds of interviews is, if you could ask one question of somebody like me, what would it be? Because then that gives you that question. You're not selling to that person, but that gives you that question of, somebody's always going to have some sort of question. So even if it's a banker and they're not self-employed, they're still going to have some question about finances or money, and that works really good for like the life insurance thing, because that is tied into retirement. It's tied into, long-term financial planning. So I always ask that. And I never answer the question, because what I want is I want to get out of them where are their needs. And then if there's a need, then I can actually set another appointment to actually have that conversation. So the first conversation, I'll use April. So this is how you could get your license again and use this. So you could call your attorneys, say, if you had one question for me, what would it be? You're networking, telling them about your accounting, bookkeeping, whatever. If you had one question from me, what would it be? Okay, thank you so much. I'm not going to answer that question, but I'd be more than happy to. Let's set another appointment.
Yeah. No, that's perfect. I mean, I am wanting just to be mindful of the time. If anyone does have questions, please submit those now. We're going to be happy to do a live Q&A. If you have a question for someone specific, please just be sure to include that. But while we wait, I do want to ask Felicia, you have a lot of freebies kind of that you use, I noticed, for your marketing. How did you strategize that? And how do you utilize those to bring in clients?
The way that I do freebies is, again, by listening, or paying attention to the trends, or paying attention to comments in groups or memes, or, something like that. Yeah. And that's a lot of, the way that I create my freebies.
Okay. Yeah.
And then I'll put them out and I'll see what's viable. Yeah, what's viable, and then what works and what sticks. I may offer a training, a masterclass, some sort of offering off of that. Like one of my freebies now that I have out, I talk a lot about, which is a tax strategy, hiring your kids in your business, and that topic is been like a hot topic on my page. So I'm actually in a process of creating a digital product for that.
Yeah. And when I say freebies, or I talk about Felicia's freebies, you probably engaged in one at some point. What it basically is you say, for your email, I will send you what's one of your freebies?
A lead magnet. A checklist, or checklist or something like that.
Yeah, your tax season checklist.
A cheat sheet. Yeah,
a cheat sheet, some sort of PDF digital deliverable that you give your email for. So it's sent to your email, and then you now, as the company, have an email, a warm lead, someone that you can start contacting and send, email campaigns. You can send them promotions. That's how the freebies work.
Yeah.
So, okay.
I love that. That's so smart.
Yeah. Okay, so we have one more question. I have, or if anyone else has any other questions, we can see if we have time. But I have found some success with virtual conferences. Have either of you attended a virtual conference during this pandemic? And if so, were you able to make connections? That was by April. Anyone attend conferences?
I have yet to attend a conference. I'm registered for 2 in November. But I've done more of like these type of things, more like webinars and smaller setting. which have been a lot of fun. I think the pandemic has changed a lot of things, but I think now more than ever, people are online looking for others in their industry, looking for people to hire, looking for clients. Like everyone's online more than I think they ever have been.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't
Yeah, same
seen
for
any.
me. Yeah, same for me.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
No conferences, more like this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I've done the same thing. I've done a lot of webinars that are educational. But I mean, I guess, is there any, if anyone has any links to accounting conferences, I would definitely be interested in that, and kind of learning from that.
So QuickBooks is doing it's called QuickBooks Connect, and they're doing it for free this year. Usually it's
Okay.
definitely
Yeah,
not free.
I saw that.
Yeah, and I think it's here in a couple of weeks. So somewhere through Intuit, I think it's called QuickBooks Connect. So somewhere through their website, you can register for that. And there's always some really good speakers and really good content and takeaways from there.
Okay. Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, sorry. Sorry, April. I guess we need, maybe we'll do a conference and
Usually
Maybe
I'm
we'll
big
have
on
to be
conferences.
the speaker on
Yeah.
the next webinar, Kristen.
yeah, exactly. I'm curious how that, I guess, would work with how that would work with conferencing and I guess networking. I'm always curious, like, on how people in the Zoom just always, like, doesn't everyone talk over each other? I don't know. I need to do more research into that. Yeah, awesome. If anyone doesn't have any more questions, we just have a few more minutes. If we can just go around to everyone and, oh, is there one more question? I want to make sure if anyone does. Do you know of any marketing agencies that work specifically with online courses or conferences? So maybe you guys don't. I don't know of any marketing, like we don't offer a course. My rationale is that basically everything you do, you can learn from like YouTube or online. And if those resources aren't doing it for you, it's probably time to outsource. Very much like accounting, you can learn how to depreciate and track inventory online. But really it's kind of that design hand and that understanding of the psychology that's just kind of easier to outsource. But if you are looking for a course or a conference, do you guys know of any sort of marketing ones that are helpful?
I don't know off the top of my head, but if I think of one.
Yeah. There's always ProAdvisor Marketing.
I was going to say, we've got marketing guru here for accounts.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, I mean, we put out a lot of content. We love inbound marketing, which is basically educating with free content, telling you everything we know. And then if it's too much for you, we take you kind of under our wing and we help you kind of expand those services. But all of our trade secrets, everything is, it's in our blog, it's in our Facebook, it's in our Instagram. We really are very transparent with everything we do. So if that is something you're interested, you can check out proadvisor-marketing.com, sign up for our newsletter and kind of get all that content. Yeah, looks like we have another question. Just to clarify, it's marketing agencies that will publicize a course that you're putting online.
Like a PR agency?
Yeah, from Natasha.
I don't think you need a specialized. I mean, I think that Kristen with ProAdvisor Marketing can do that for you because I mean that's one thing that I actually have on my goal list is to create a course as well. But I will just market it using my social media team, my marketing team that I already have, and maybe do some ads. I mean, outside of that, right, to get more visibility. But outside of that, I don't really think that you need like a specialized marketing person.
Yeah, no, just to reiterate what Felicia said, I mean, if you're looking to market your courses, and so she's in Ireland, she wants to market to people in America, I would just focus on your SEO and, again, your ads, making sure that that's kind of all optimized for American audiences. And there's a couple ways you can do that kind of with your website, and, Facebook ads kind of makes it really easy to do that based off demographics. But you would want to try to focus on we talked about networking and referrals, finding those groups that are like a lot of US based accountants or, whoever your target audience is. And so you being from Ireland, you know, sometimes they just want Americans, but you can maybe see if you can. I went to America once or something, you know. You get a little creative, and there's different ways kind of you can market it. But
sure.
yeah, I would focus on SEO and ads in that situation. So if anyone has any other questions, we'd be happy to answer them. Otherwise, I kind of want to go around and see what advice you guys have for people. Just general question. They're trying to grow their business during the pandemic. What is the one thing that you tell them? Let's start with Jody.
Don't be a silent agent. So put yourself out there any way that you possibly can. It doesn't matter if it's old school or new school or whatever it is. Pick something and put yourself out there, because no one's going to find you, and you're not going to build if you don't at least give yourself the leg up of having a presence. So have some presence.
Yeah. Thanks, Jody.
Mm-hmm.
Felicia?
I would say, in addition to having that presence, that sometimes if you feel that you aren't getting the attention or the clients that you want to get, maybe you have an issue with visibility. Maybe you can start to do more videos, do more lives, or, you know, as we talked a few moments ago about maybe doing some ads. And, you know, keep the conversation going, you know, especially for the main focus of my business, you know, with the tax strategy. I talk about taxes all year long. I talk about taxes all year long. So keep the conversation going. You know, I don't just say January through April, I'm going to talk about it and that's it. No, because it's still people that have unfiled taxes. It's still people that have tax issues that need to be solved. So just, you know, keep the conversation going, make yourself visible. And don't give up.
Yeah, definitely.
Don't give up. I love that. Just to really add on to what both of them said, and really going into it with that abundance mindset. Like, there are so many businesses that need our help, and there are not enough accountants to go around. So put it on your calendar, reach out to other people in the industry, network with other professionals that are offering services that are similar to yours, or even maybe a little bit different, that you guys can refer business, and really just think of our industry. It's really that mindset shift that's really going to help. And also, I wanted to say this earlier, but if you giving out free value is going to make you an expert in your field and answering those questions. If you don't have any questions to answer, you can go to answerthepublic.com and search like bookkeeping. Yes. And it'll give you all kinds of things that people are Googling, and you can use that as your value that you start providing. But use that to really create that online presence that makes you an expert in your field, so that when people are ready, they'll know that you can help.
I just wrote that down.
That's a great site. I love that site.
Yeah, we heard it. Okay, well, yeah, gonna check that out. And I just wanted to add, you know, my little tidbit is to be optimistic and take care of your mental health. Accounting is such a stressful industry when there's no pandemic. You know, I would, for those of you that don't know kind of my background, I started in accounting, I started in auditing. It can be really trying if you're not taking care of your health. There are so many people that like forget to eat lunch, or, you know, you forget to spend time with your family, or they get, you know, what's left over at the end of the day. Make sure you take care of your mental health, and you pour into yourself first before pouring into your business and pouring into others. Because that does come across in the sales call, or when you're creating that marketing content, when you're writing that email. If you're having a rough day, people see that. So make sure you're taking care of yourself first and foremost. And that's I think going to be the best way to kind of stay optimistic and be able to push forward when things are going to be tough, and we have no idea when they're not going to be tough anymore. Yeah. So I want to thank you guys all so much for joining. Thank you, Jody, Ashley, and Felicia. I hope this has been helpful to all of you guys that attended. I hope that you guys are finding a little bit of optimism. You took some great notes and had a lot of really great information that's going to help you grow your business. The last little thing that I'm going to say before we head off is if you have any marketing questions, feel free to reach out to us. If you want to join a Facebook group and kind of see how the experts do it, join Jody's Facebook group. If you want to kind of see Felicia's freebies, which I love, check out Felicia on Instagram, and be sure to check out Ashley on Instagram as well. You can kind of see some ways that they are marketing and leading their business through their awesome different strategies. So thank you guys so much, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you guys.
For having.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, audience.